presents John Mellencamp Cougar, Transformation, brought to you by Rehart's Casual Shop. Rehart's Casual Shop is proud to present this special report on John Cougar, and we invite you to stop in this Saturday from 9 until 6 to register for a special free drawing with prizes including 2 John Cougar Freedom Hall concert tickets, John Cougar shirts, Levi's jeans, and the John Cougar record or tape of your choice from Virginia's Music Center. A total value of $100. And while you're at Rehart's, be sure to check out the special weekend values on a super selection of new fall shirts and sweaters, and basic Levi's denim jeans on sale at just $16.99 a pair. Don't forget to register for exciting prizes this Saturday at Rehart's Casual Shop.
Good evening and welcome to John Mellencamp Cougar Transformation. I'm Jim Plump and I'll be your host. I guess it's easy to lose sight of the fact that someone in the spotlight has a background not that much different than you and I. In the case of John Mellencamp Cougar, Seymour was his background, and like most Seymour natives, he spent his Friday and Saturday nights cruising the street. So much of an influence to John was his background that his first album was entitled Chestnut Street Incident, and it was on Chestnut Street that one of his best friends, Mark Ripley, remembered some of the good old days.
John was the kind of guy that never did anything silly. He always talked you into doing stuff that was stupid, and then he'd laugh at you. That was it. You know, he didn't want to look like a fool, but if you did something stupid, he'd be more than happy to stand there and laugh at you.
Tell me about the early days. You and John, you were very close to him in high school. Could you...
Used to pick him up every morning.
From where?
Well, out at the Rap House. He rode to school with me. He rode around at lunch with me. We smoked cigarettes and drank Big Red. Go down by the telephone company to his girlfriend's car and pick up a tuna sandwich for him, a little pack of potato chips, and we'd ride around and smoke cigarettes the rest of the hour.
What about in the evenings, cruising up and down Chestnut Street?
When I could get out, it was fun. I had a car and John didn't. He had one for a while, but Ted had it and Joe had it, so he kind of had to split time on it. And we'd cruise downtown. We'd stop here in front of Hooks and get out in the middle of the traffic, scream at girls, yell at them, "Hey, kiss me!" And every now and then we were successful. Usually they ran over our feet. But it was a lot of fun. We enjoyed it. It was just stupid stuff like kids do all the time. We were no different than anybody else.
I think people lose sight of the fact that someone like John now, you know, had a background just very much like we're talking about.
Yeah, and it was pretty normal. It was pretty Midwestern, you know. It wasn't a big deal. You know, we had homework that we had to do. We had things that we had to get done. But as far as I know what you mean. A lot of people think that once you're a star, you always acted that way. And it was kind of crazy because we worried about lunch money and buying this and buying that just like everybody else. John borrowed more money off me and never repaid it, just like anybody else has off their best friends. And I'm sure that over the course of the years that I borrowed a lot of stuff off him and never given it back or never repaid him money. And it's just one of those things when you're a friend, you know, you don't care. If I've got it, you're welcome to it.
What about his involvement in bands? I know he played in a lot of rock and roll bands. Rock and roll bands are a dime a dozen. They're everywhere. Yeah. Was there one thing that John did that set him apart from the others?
He's very persistent. He always was into something. You know, it was, I really can't remember a time when he wasn't in some kind of band.
What about now that John's obviously one of the hottest things going? I'm sure you've seen him in concerts. You went on the road with him a bit, you said a while ago. What does this mean to you now? I mean, remembering all the experiences you had, and now all of a sudden, every time you pick up a rock magazine, every time you turn on television, there's John Cougar.
I love it. I love it. It amazes me, but I love it. I wish nothing but the best for John. And I see him, and he's still just John to me. You know, I don't know. I don't think it's hit me like it has a lot of people. You know, it's one of those things where you know somebody real well, and you take it in stride and you laugh about it, and it's funny, and you hope that they do well. but you really can't appreciate the impact that they have on other people. And I've seen people just go crazy, jump up on the stage, scream and yell, you know, girls throwing undergarments at him. It's awesome. It really is. It's awesome. I don't know what to do. You know, if I was in that situation, I'm sure I'd like it for a while, but you know, people are so presumptuous of your private time, and they think that you're always on stage, that I don't know if I could deal with it or not. I really don't.
How do you think John's doing as far as dealing with it?
I think he's doing great. He's one of the few people that I've seen. I go to a few concerts, and I've met a few people that are you would consider a star, and I think John's handled it as well or better than any of them that I've seen. You know, when you tell people, if you see me on the street, come up and talk to me or come up and ask for an autograph, I don't care, it's fine, I'll sign it. People don't realize that that really is saying a lot, because you have very little free time. And the free time that you have, you know, you may have the flu. And you're in your hotel room at a hotel and you're trying to sleep, and there's kids banging on your door wanting your autograph. There's people wanting you to come out and say hello. You know, I was in Rockford, Illinois with John, and he was feeling poorly. And I was walking out in the lobby with Larry Crane and a couple other guys in the band, and another friend that was traveling at the time with him. And I had the girl behind the desk grab me. Could you have Mr. Cougar sign these tickets? I was at the concert last night, and I really enjoyed it, and I wondered if you'd have me sign them. Well, that's fine, and I'm sure John wouldn't mind signing them. But here he is, he doesn't feel good, he's in his room. He can't come out because all these kids have him trapped. They're out there beating on the door saying, well, when will he be out to sign autographs, you know? Are you Diane? Asking stupid questions like that. I'm thinking, what are you doing? You're giving the guy a break. And it just, I don't know, it doesn't register with me like it does with other people, obviously, but I suppose that's the price you pay for fame. I don't think John takes it negatively. I think he's very open about it. You know, if you see me on the street and you want my autograph, ask me. I think John handles it real well. I really don't think he has a big head. I don't think he thinks that he's any better than anybody else. He likes to come back to Indiana. He likes to ride his bikes. He likes to get in touch with his old friends. I think if he showed up right now, he'd be more than happy to come over and sit down and talk to us and be on TV. You know, he's just a real down-to-earth guy, and you can't ask for more than that. When you're in that kind of position, you can't ask for more than that.
This is where the life and times of John Cougar began, right here on 5th Street. Songs about his experiences growing up in this neighborhood have been written. In fact, his current top 10 song, Jack and Diane, the thought behind that may have occurred right up the street at Emerson School. This is John Mellencamp, football mascot for Seymour in the mid-1950s, and John later did play football for Seymour during his freshman year. His coach was Harry Knight.
We did coach him back in 1966, that is Darrell Hacker and I. And as I remember John, he was a little fella. He's quite competitive. He had the speed of a football player, the heart of a football player. The ability might have been a little questionable, but he was in there. We had a pretty good-sized team at that time, and he didn't get as much action as he possibly could because we had fellows like Rick Miles on the end that we hit a lot of them passes, and John didn't get a chance to run the ball as much as he possibly could have. And contrary to what anyone may say, John, I never did get a call from Shula asking me about his ability to play the game, and I'm not sure I could help him out much anyhow along that line. But seriously, John was he was a pretty good kid as far as boys go. I would say he was a typical boy, and he had all the pitfalls of boys. He was a little hot-tempered. I think he got mad at himself and showed more emotion towards himself than he did anyone else. A lot of people look upon this, I think, as actually a problem of his, but I never did see it become a problem in all the time that I coached him. And after the freshman year, I'm not sure what his extent of football was, but it was enjoyable having him there, and he got a lot of hard knocks, and he took them. He gave out a few also.
John Mellencamp was a member of the 1970 graduating class here at Seymour Senior High School. By his own admission, he left impressions on several teachers, some good, some bad. One of his teachers that remembers him, English teacher Brantley Blythe.
I had John Mellencamp as a student in speech class, I believe. And I remember John had a lot of energy. He talked fast, he moved fast, everything was fast about him. He was a confident person, was popular with most of the other students. He was not serious about school, in that he was not serious about grades. If he got a C, he was happy. But he was in no way a dumb student. He was smart, he was quick, he was witty, he was fun to talk to. Had jokes, had a lot of stories, a lot of enthusiasm. In the classroom, he would occasionally volunteer. He was not a troublemaker. He was not a discipline problem. I would say he was an average student, except there was something about him that did stand out. Something about his attitude and his desire to be something more than an average student, and obviously that's what he became. There was a little bit of the actor, the role player in John Cougar. I think he's playing a role now as John Cougar. He's not, as John Mellencamp, he was not John Cougar. I think he's made himself into John Cougar. But as John Mellencamp, I think he did like to please. He did like to entertain. Something of the clown, only maybe more serious than that. I really believe that one of his keys is perseverance. He did not give up. The kids, the first few years after he went away to make his records, some of the kids laughed at him in the classes, and I'd mention John Cougar. There would be giggles, and I would say, well, he's #1 in New Zealand, but you know, there are only 2 or 3 electrical outlets in all of New Zealand. I think they sell only batteries for tape players in a couple Kmarts there. You know, #1 in New Zealand, that's like being #1 in Medora or something. Big deal. But he didn't give up. He moved to Europe, I understand, at least, as I read the story, to Germany, and he kept trying, he kept working, and eventually that perseverance, coupled with talent, and I think he would agree with luck, has made him a star. I think the kids see him as a role model and are trying, some of them at least, and try to imitate him. But at the time John Cougar was in school, for example, we had a pretty strict dress code. The girls had to wear dresses to school every day. No slacks, no jeans. John Cougar would not have been allowed to wear hair over the ears when he was in school. He had to be clean shaven when he was in school. He couldn't wear muscle shirts or T-shirts when he was in school. So he was really a much different student in appearance, at least, at that time, than he is now. And I think in other ways he's probably the same as some of our students. I'll tell you what I really remember about John Cougar is not so much school, but John Cougar and I were expectant fathers together in the Jackson County Hospital 12 years ago. His little girl, I believe her name is Michelle, from his first marriage, was born just hours before my boy Jason was born. Now John Cougar may ride the big Harleys, and he may wear the sunglasses and have all the honeys on the back and have the beard. But 12 years ago, he was just the typical nail-biting, pacing the floor, chain smoker, expectant father, as I was. And I think that maybe tells you something about him. Right now, John Cougar, he's an adult. He's almost your age. He's in his 30s. But he has to present the image of being, I guess the term we use around here is being a hood, because that's what's going to sell his records, I believe.
And I ain't even done with the night.
Rehart's Casual Shop is proud to present this special report on John Cougar, and we invite you to stop in this Saturday from 9 until 6 to register for a special free drawing with prizes including 2 John Cougar Freedom Hall concert tickets, John Cougar shirts, Levi's jeans, and the John Cougar record or tape of your choice from Virginia's Music Center. A total value of $100. And while you're at Rehart's, be sure to check out the special weekend values on a super selection of new fall shirts and sweaters, and basic Levi's denim jeans on sale at just $16.99 a pair. Don't forget to register for exciting prizes this Saturday at Rehart's Casual Shop.
It hasn't been an easy road to the top for Seymour's John Cougar, but from day one he's been joined by another Seymour musician, Larry Crane. Larry is the son of Mr. and Mrs. Charles Crane, and his mother, Patty, owns and operates Crane's Music House here at the corner of 2nd and Bliss Street. Breaking into the music profession is not one of the easiest businesses, so I asked Patty what advice she gave her son.
Well, I didn't really give him any advice. I just helped him, you know, any way I could with instruments and money to start out with. And but he started out very young. He bought his first guitar, and we paid half of it, and that was when he was 13. And from then on, it was just, we knew, you know, we knew he was going to do it, and he had a goal set for himself, and he did it.
Patty, what was it like in the beginning? There are no such thing as overnight sensations in the music business. What was it like as far as Larry?
It was very, very hectic. He was in one band and then another. He worked all through high school. That's how he made his money. He worked in weekends, rock and roll. He worked with a road band as soon as he got out of school, playing 6 nights a week. He was with them for, well, over a year. And then John called him and asked him to go with him, and that's history.
What is it like for you to turn on television, pick up a magazine, and read about John Cougar and his band, which includes your son?
Well, the first time I cried. Then now it's kind of old stuff, and that, I don't mean to say that, you know, being smart about it or anything. But it is, you know, a lot of times I don't even watch him. If it's late at night, used to, we'd stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning if we thought he was going to be on, but we don't do that anymore. But it's just great. It's really good. He called from Denver one night, and he said, Mom, Dad, turn on the radio on Q95. He said, I'm going to be on live. You know, I thought, well, I've heard a lot of live shows before, and it's kind of jumbled up, and you can't really hear. I turned the radio on, and it was just like they were right there. The transmission was perfect, and I could hear Larry's song lead off, and his background singing. And I got the big tears in my eyes, and it was just great. He doesn't realize what's happening to him. And I said, yeah, but if this had happened 2 years ago, it would have been different. But he said, well, it's happened so gradual. And, you know, he meets all these famous guitar players who now are nervous coming backstage to talk to him, which I think is great. And he does too.
Larry, does it seem real yet? You have to pinch yourself to, you know, the television, all the concerts. Does it seem real?
Well, we haven't had time for anything to soak in, really. You know, we've been playing day after day, and just a couple days ago we found out that the album was #1, and I don't think anybody has really realized it yet. You know, it's sort of just one of those things. You know, once we finally settle down, we've got a little time off coming up pretty soon. And I think when we sit down for about 10 days and think about it for a while, I think it'll finally set in. But, you know, we don't even have time now. You know.
Do you go back to Seymour much anymore?
Yeah, I go back whenever I'm in town, you know, because I live in Bloomington, and so whenever I'm back there, I normally go in at least once every 2 weeks or so, you know, see my family. There's a lot for me to do down there, you know, so, you know, I've got a lot of friends down there and stuff, so I normally go down and hang around with them on the weekends and stuff. have a good time.
Just pick up a copy of Billboard magazine, read Rolling Stone, or watch Solid Gold on television. The name and face of John Cougar is very evident as making an imprint on American music these days. Down the road here at Rockford, John's mother and father live, Mr. and Mrs. Richard Mellencamp, and they have watched his career from the start. In fact, Marilyn Mellencamp admits she thought he was wasting his time in the beginning.
You know, he would write these songs, and he would call these people in New York, and he'd call them every day, and he just pestered them. He just pestered them and pestered them. And, you know, they'd say, you know, don't call us, we'll call you. You know, we're not interested in first one thing another. And pretty soon somebody called him up and they wanted him to come to New York with these demo tapes. And that really surprised me. But he is, no matter what, how awful and people were to him in New York, it never did discourage him. He just kept right on pursuing. He'd call them up and he'd have great big phone bills, and you know, I just thought that, well, I think you're pretty much wasting your time. That's what I really thought, but I felt like as long as he was doing that, he wasn't doing something, doing drugs or whatever. You know, he was I thought he was entertaining himself, just trying to get ahead in the rock and roll business. Now, I always thought he had a nice little voice. But I think a lot of people have a nice little voices. I think, you know, cities are just full of people with talent. But John believed in himself. And I think that's the secret, to believe in yourself. If you think you can do something, go try to do it. And you'll never know unless you try. And that's exactly what he did. And but I always felt like, you know, John had this drive, and if anybody could make it, he would make it, because he was always out there trying. When John was growing up, he was like a hyperactive type of child. He rode his bicycle too fast. He chewed bubble gum all the time, and he always had a big wad of bubble gum in his mouth. And he liked to play down at Emerson Field and get in a football game, and go uptown and stand around on the street corners and cruise around on Friday night. Just about what most of the kids do today. When I lived down on 5th Street, I was a den mother for 10 little boys, and the Beatles had just come out. And I decided to make Beatle wigs and do this little skit at the Baptist church. Boy guitars, and John was one of them, and Bert Steinweddel's boy, and Dr. Baxter's little boy. And they stood up there and pantomimed to the Beatles songs, you know, and they had their little Beatle wigs on, and they looked so cute. And there were about 50 other kids at that PAC meeting that night, and that was just like a rock concert. I have never seen young children become so involved in what another group of children were doing. And that was the first time I ever really noticed how the young people at that time were so taken by the Beatles. And that's the first time I ever really saw John become really that involved with music. He always liked to entertain. He always liked to be up in front of people. You know, it seems like he was pretty much a natural-born entertainer. You know, I noticed that the night over at the Baptist church when he was doing that skit. He seemed to be having so much fun, and he really liked being up there, you know. He really enjoys entertaining people.
John, it's been a fantastic summer for you. I talked to you earlier, and you said you'd always wanted a summer album. You've got one. It's going #1. You're on this great concert tour. Things have been super for you.
Yeah, I can't complain about how things are going, but what am I going to do next? You know, once you get to #1, where do you go from there, right?
I was going to say, you were concerned after the Nothing Matters and What If It Did album, what you were going to do. You did this for an encore. What is next?
Well, I don't know, you know, probably a couple of years. I'm writing the movie theme for the new Dustin Hoffman movie, and stars Dustin Hoffman, Bill Murray, and it's called Tootsie, and I'm working on that, and I'm trying to write a song for Meatloaf, and I got all kind of stuff going, and so, you know, who knows where it'll go from here.
John comes across in interviews, both in newspaper, radio, television, as this wild kind of guy. How is he to travel with?
That's pretty accurate. That's pretty accurate. John's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And he's got a lot of kid left in him. That's good. I don't think anybody should let go of that. He's fun.
John, you have anything to tell the people of Seymour?
Never give up your dreams, I guess.
You didn't give yours up, and look where you are now.
That's right. So that's what you got to do when you want to do something. Just go do it. Don't let people tell you can't do it, because, you know, I'm living proof you can do anything you want to.
Levi's jeans, and the John Cougar record or tape of your choice from Virginia's Music Center. A total value of $100. And while you're at Rehart's, be sure to check out the special weekend values on a super selection of new fall shirts and sweaters, and basic Levi's denim jeans on sale at just $16.99 a pair. Don't forget to register for exciting prizes this Saturday at Rehart's Casual Shop. John Mellencamp Cougar, Transformation, has been a production of Cable News 2 of Seymour. Our thanks to John Cougar and his staff for their cooperation in filming the concert segments of this report at Market Square Arena, and to Mr. and Mrs. Richard Mellencamp, Patty Crane, Harry Knight, Brantley Blythe, and Mark Ripley for their assistance. And a special thanks to Rehart's Casual Shop for making this telecast possible. Filming and post-production editing of this report was done by Joe Persinger, Jim Plump, and Brian Monday of Cable News 2. Thanks for watching, and good evening.